Okay, but why isn't good as cunningly good as evil is cunningly evil? This was a question posed by a professor of a class I was in over 15 years ago, and I still can't stop thinking about it. Like, there's a whole genre of heist movies like Italian Job, Fast and the Furious, Ocean's 11, that are enjoyable in part because we can suspend disbelief because we understand that criminals are crafty. And there's this great book called The Burglar's Guide to the City that points out that burglars inherently have a stronger understanding of design in the built world because they see it as a problem that they need to solve in order to do what they need to do. But we don't seem to have a counterpart to that. We begin to think that to be right is enough. And in being right, we just need to have integrity. We don't need to do what it takes to bring about the right action. What's more, we tend to delegate the work that we're supposed to do off to a nonprofit. We donate, you do the work. We vote, you do the work. And even times where we are fully participating in a boycott or protest, it's pretty dull and unimaginative. Now, don't get me wrong, I participate in all these things and think these things should continue on. But evil, even on the most individual level, is so much more ingenious than people that are trying to bring about good. However, some of the biggest social movements that have taken place haven't just rested on the laurels and the fact that they were right and had integrity. Like during the civil rights era, they didn't just plan a march. They planned a march at a certain type of day at a certain location to draw the biggest crowd of onlookers and curious minds that they could, so that when the news showed up, they just saw that a crowd was drawn and then defaulted to the fact that this crowd was probably here as a part of the march or in support of it. They inflated their numbers. Or William Wilberforce and other abolitionist parliamentarians in England didn't bring down the slave trade in England by fighting a fair fight. They would give opera tickets to their opposition who wouldn't be paying attention and not realize that the opera took place during a key vote. Or they would take different members of parliament who were on the fence and different politicians to go tour boats that just returned from the transatlantic voyage with slaves so that they would have to smell the smells and see the violence. See, I don't think it's enough to be right. And so often we equate being right with being enough. But I think the more right you are, or the more that's at stake, the more is required of you to get crafty and to get cunning. And this isn't some sort of call to arms or violent action. In fact, I think violence itself is sort of unimaginative. Rather, this is a call at the individual level to participate in capers and machinations that bring about the good results that you want to see. Not fully abandoning policy or political change, still participate in those, but start looking at bigger problems and how they might require more ingenuity and shrewdness rather than less. And here's the thing, I'm already anticipating excuses coming in the comment section. But let me tell you something. If I was trying to keep from having a worthy opponent, the first thing I'd try to do is to convince them of some huge cabal or conspiracy theory that's insurmountable so that they lose hope and don't participate. What can we do against capitalism, communism, or whatever it might be? Second thing I would try to do is put them into survival mode. They're so busy trying to just get by that they think they have nothing to offer or they truly have nothing to offer. And if I can't get them in survival mode, convince them they're in survival mode anyhow. If they're privileged, have them second guess their motivations and have them step back and try not to step in. If they're not privileged, try to convince them that it's the work of the privileged people to do on their own. And instead of looking for a small thing that they can do, let them assume it's somebody else's job. Because at the end of the day, the best opponent to face is an opponent that doesn't show up at all. But if you show up in a small, simple way, you'll start developing a moral muscle mass and an increased cunning intelligence that might just plant a seed for a major movement.